Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cunning Cardmates channel. Today I wanted to talk about something a little more formal and very helpful to what I believe could help out a decent chunk of people if they want to get into Magic the Gathering, and more specifically, the Commander format. And that is how they might best get into that format and from there creating their own decks. So to start off, my best advice that I believe for the former of getting into Commander would be by purchasing one of Magic the Gathering's precons based solely of what you feel like is the best to you. For my own personal experience, I whenever I first started getting into the Commander format, I went with this was around the Bloomborough set, so I was looking at those four different commanders and I saw the Bellow Commander Precon, and I went with that one because one, I really love the red green color combination, and two, I love raccoons. So at the end of the day, your choice in a precon to decide which one you want to go with can be anywhere from you like the mechanics, you kind of already know which color combos you really enjoy, or you just like the way the commander looks. And going from there, after playing that deck a few times, you might be wondering, well, what would be the best possible way for me to upgrade that deck? And I believe one of the best ways that I know, and I did it personally, was going to EDH Rec, because they have the all the precons, all the deck lists, and that kind of stuff already made, so you can look at it there. And we'll use the Bellow as a example for this of here we have the entire deck list for the animated army precon. Here's all 100 cards, and if you scroll down you can see the cards to cut, cards to add, even including lands to cut and lands to add. So looking at this list, you can also just go based off of your own collection if you already have like a decent collection of a lot of these cards, and or you can do the other thing of just proxy them until you have the means to purchase some of these cards. And this is kind of what I did whenever I went through to upgrade my deck, was since this was a deck I really enjoyed and there were already some cards I wasn't the biggest fan of, such as like Grothama, I knew to an extent what I wanted to get rid of and what from this side I felt would be the best to add. So that's one of the easiest solutions that I've come across to do in order to make sure that you can have a decent deck that is somewhat your own creation. Now, moving from there, we can go into the topic of, well, now that I have experience with playing a commander deck, I know what it's like to upgrade one, but how best can I go about building my own deck? And for this, we'll use my Miram Sentinel Worm that I pulled earlier on this channel as an example. And again, using a similar method of going to EDH Rec, we can look at their page on Miram Sentinel Worm if you already knew the specific commander that you want to do personally. You can do this, and it will include like here's all bunch of the new cards that they currently that are out from the most recent set that they believe would fit decently into this. Here's a lot of cards that have high synergy. The top cards most people use in their decks, some of the game changers that they use, which would put your commander deck from like a bracket 2 to a bracket 3. That's a whole nother thing. I will happily talk about that at some point of the bracket system. But this is a lot of the things that can go into play whenever it comes to creating your own commander deck. Or another way you can go about it is looking at Scryfall, because they have a bunch of they have all of the cards Magic has ever made, and it is a fairly simple fairly simple thing. This is kind of what my girlfriend has used, and again, we will use Miram as our example of here's the card, you can look at it. I haven't used this as a thing, but basically you can do advanced search, look at specific creatures. Um, I think I don't know. I haven't used this personally because more often than not, what I do whenever it comes to making my own commander deck is the other solution you can have is you can have these do decks. You can set it to the specific bracket you feel like you want to play as. Can do cheap, not as cheap. Make sure to do specific tags, and then we'll click on this deck list and it will show you what this person has as their deck list for the specific commander you're wanting to do. And you can go from there of look at a few, decide, okay, that works. I kind of like the way that looks, put that in my own thing and this, that, and the third. And honestly, at the end of the day, building a commander deck can be rather intimidating because of you're having to figure out how to fill out nine the 99 cards for that entire deck list. And I acknowledge how intimidating that is since I haven't actually built my own deck list. I I have done like looking at other deck lists and using them as inspirations or basically grabbing a deck list that already exists and proxying that entire thing because I want to see how that feels and then going from there by adding my own things. Best example of this would be the Miles Morales deck I just made. At the end of the day, Commander is probably my favorite format, and it can be slightly intimidating of how best you want to go about getting into it. For me, whenever I was first getting into it, it was the format I was worried about getting into because I was worried about like, oh, I go in there with like my very basic precon and they'll come in with like this uber powerful deck that will just make the game not fun. And that's why I went with draft for the longest time because anyway, that's a whole different tangent, but Commander can be intimidating to some people. It was to me whenever I first started out, and it's hands down become my favorite format. So at the end of the day, I would highly suggest if you do want to get into Magic the Gathering, and more specifically, you want to give Commander a shot, I would support doing that. And if you want, you can, again, going to EDH Rec, not sponsored. This is just the main tool that I use. But you can go to EDH Rec and look at all the different precons because they have the list for all of the ones that exist and all the different commanders. Can just look at the list of all of them. And for this example, again, doing all sorts of different examples, but for this one, we will go all the way down here to the Warhammer 40k commanders since those are something I'm really into at the moment. And we'll go with the Silent King Necron one, and it will give you the entire deck list. So if you really wanted to copy, proxy it, because, well, some of these decks do get a bit expensive, to say the least. So you might not be in the best position to be able to get a lot of these decks. But that is basically everything I wanted to cover in this video. I hope it was decently helpful. I understand it was very basic, going over the bare minimum and that kind of stuff, but the issue with this kind of topic for me is since I don't really partake in deck building as much, I don't know the best way for me to provide tips on it, but I kind of really wanted to talk about it in the hopes that, it would conjure a thought into my mind of what would be the best possible way for me to go about providing this information for you all. Because at the end of the day, I want to also be helpful to all of you while also making sure that this experience is enjoyable for everyone involved. That's more or less all I really wanted to talk about today. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, as usual, like, comment, subscribe. If there's any tips that you have whenever it comes to creating a commander deck, feel free to leave them down below. I will happily read them because I will accept any tips y'all might have on how to figure out building your own commander decks, because ironically, the person that's trying to be creative with YouTube struggles with coming up with ideas on his own. But that's basically it. So thank you for watching this video, and bye.